trying to get down.
Welcome to the Charter Review Committee, and we'll get started now by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Myers, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Jennifer Ashburn. Marianne Baxter.
Present.
Abby Bemis. Diane Corso.
Here.
Adriana Guerra.
Here.
Billy Hill. David Miller.
Here.
Mark Pfeiffer. Tim Schwanger.
Here.
Elizabeth Semler.
Here.
Tom Schirra.
Here.
Jennifer Torres.
Here.
Beta Wilson.
Here.
Mike Zuloff.
Thank you. Minutes were distributed prior to us being here. Are there any corrections to them? Can I have a motion that we accept the minutes as?
Madam Chair, I move approval of the minutes as distributed.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the minutes are accepted. Public comments, and there is no one here for that. We move down to number 5, discussion recommended charter changes. And I know we've had 11 charter changes, and I'm not sure how we want to go through this, if we just read the changes that we have or discuss them one by one. Mr. Hastings, can you give me
Sure. Well,
a little direction?
as the chairperson, you have prerogatives here. You can discuss them one by one. We are getting very close here, I believe. We put words to what you voted on in the previous meetings to try to give in words what you asked for. If anybody has any suggestions or corrections, I mean, hear it. Otherwise, probably final vote, I would guess, would be at the next meeting, the final meeting, when you decide what you really want to take over to the city commission.
So let's start with the first one, gender law to draft, no reference to gender. And we have all references to gender in this charter shall designate all people. Are we all satisfied with that?
I think that's what we agreed about last time.
Then we'll go on to section 2, form of government, and we just removed at large. So unless you want me to read the whole thing, are we
No.
all in favor of that?
I think that's what we agreed.
Okay. Number 3, city commission, this is creation and powers. I'll give you a few minutes just to read over it, because it is a little lengthy.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, here, I felt the need to flesh out a little bit what I sensed that the Charter Commission asked us to do. And the more we thought about it, it became very difficult to envision an election where there's both at-large members and ward members in the same election. People who want to run for city commission would have to make a choice. So we tried to do this in a way that in the alternate elections, that there'd be an election where all we do is elect ward commissioners, and an election where all we do is elect at-large commissioners, in the numbers that was suggested. And of course, since we are having an election of commissioners at the same time that we're potentially changing the charter, I just put in there a delay of 2 years so that commissioners who are duly elected have an opportunity to serve out their terms.
Is there any further discussion or questions in that regard?
Well, just so we don't get done too early. Um, This was one thing that I noted that I didn't necessarily anticipate and think it through as you have done. When I got to the next election, 4 wards are elected. It set up in my mind that always then, in one election will be at large and one will be wards. And when I first thought about it, I wasn't sure that was optimal, that somehow maybe we could stagger so that in future elections, maybe beyond the initial transition one, that there was 2 wards that elect and some at large or some combination, so it's not all wards or at large in any given election. Your rationale seems to make sense to me, but I don't know if there's any other examples that have this hybrid ward at large combo of how they do it, if that's the normal practice, because everybody gets to that conclusion.
Yeah, I don't know. That just made sense. I just put this out there. Obviously, you can change it any way you want, or decide on second thought, maybe we like our government just the way it is, but,
And I guess as I read this the other day after we got it, I didn't think about, we had taken some very finite things and changed them to be more workable as the city and as the community grows, changes, et cetera. And then I saw the number 7, and I was like, does that then kind of lock us back down to something again, to where maybe we need 9, commissioners, or we need 4 because we go down to 10,000 people in population, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, now we've locked ourselves into another finite number, very, very similar to how we locked ourselves into $1,000 for, this and $10,000 for that. So I didn't know if there was maybe a better way to represent that language either.
yeah, my limited experience is that the public likes fewer rather than more.
Right.
Cleveland, they changed their charter to base the number of councilmen
On population.
on population.
Right.
And through a series of censuses, they kept reducing, although I
Right.
believe their population has grown a little bit.
Right, and that was kind of one of the reasons why after I had read all of this, I was like, oh, is that really what we meant, was to lock ourselves into like a specific number versus basing it on what our community is currently looking like you said, happens in Cleveland based on population size.
Yeah, I would
I
think
know we
for
didn't
sure we
discuss
want
that.
an odd number, so.
Right, I just know that we didn't discuss that really too much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm happy with this. I've shared this language with some other folks that have discussed the ward system, and they're all pretty happy with this. The thought is that our population's pretty much been stuck at 25,000, 23,000 in that area for quite some time. There is always an opportunity, if we start growing by leaps and bounds, that we can go back in 5 years, 10 years, and change it to nine members, and make adjustments at that time. But in my research, and I'm sure in your research, I found that if there's 7 councilmen or commissioners, that it was always set up, 4 and 3, 4 at large, 3 by wards, or vice versa. And it was always like, this election is 4, this election is 3, 4 at large, 3 by wards, not a combination of 2 and 2, but it's always been 4 and 3 based on those factors. So, like I say, I'm happy with this language, and so are the folks that I shared this information with. They're happy with it.
And I'd just like to remind this commission that city commission makes the final decision as to how it's going to be done and whether it's going to be done. So charter commissions in the past have recommended things that the city commission did not take forward. Plus, they have to take it forward by a supermajority vote.
I just had a logistical question. It's probably just my own ignorance, but if we have an election in 2027 for the 4 wards, where are the other 3 coming from for those 2 years?
Well, then 2 years, then it'd be an at-large election.
Right, in 2 years from then, but between 27 and 29,
Oh, well, we will be electing 3 this coming fall.
okay, that's what I thought.
So for them to serve their full
Okay.
term, the 3
They'll
replacement.
carry over.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
I think we're good to move on.
Our fourth one, 25 expenditures. There was a sentence removed in the second paragraph. And an addition. And then in the bottom paragraph on that page, the amount was removed.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So as a refresher, what is the first number now according to the state? Was it 77,000?
77,250, I believe, for this year. Next year, it will presumably change.
And that language is not going to be in the proposed charter change on the ballot. That number's not going to be on that. So how does the public get informed on what that number
There
currently is?
will be, again, this would be up to the commission, but there will be, as has always been done in the past, some explanation of the charter proposals.
Okay. And then the second question is down where it was $10,000, what is that number right now according to the state?
77.
That's 77,000 also?
Yeah, that's also 77, statewide.
The first number isn't the 77, though. The first number was not the competitive bidding process. The first number was just for quotes, for competitive quoting, what the dollar amount for that was.
So there would be no amount in there, right? We took that out.
Well, the
Yeah, we
five.
changed it from 1 to
1
5,000
to 5, okay.
in the charter. If we left it out altogether, then it would be up to the policy of the city to set that amount. Every city I know has a policy on that.
Any further discussion? We're going fast, aren't we?
Good job.
Gosh. Number 5, 27, Section 27, Civil Service. Any discussion, further discussion on this one? We'll move on to number 6, Section 29, the Advisory Board. With a sentence added with priority given to city residents. Is there any further discussion on that? That will continue on. Number 7, Section 41, bids in excess of estimate. I think we were all right with that the last time. Change. Number 8, Section 43. There's quite a bit removed. Just stating primarily they'll follow Ohio ethics law, the city commission, the city manager, or any other office. Any further discussion on that? Number 9, section 66. Whole first paragraph is removed.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out this, I think this is a pretty dramatic change. It makes recall elections significantly easier, lowering the amount from 15 to 10%. That is a major policy change.
Are we all right with that? Number 10, section 67. Notice.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Hastings, I see where Board of Elections is crossed out, and then City Treasurer is also crossed out. So,
We changed it at first to Board of Elections, and this is a artifact of tracking changes in Word that our limited expertise couldn't figure out.
okay,
So, yeah, we left it as City Treasurer, the way it was originally written, because she or he will be the one that assembles the copies of the petition and then transmit them to the Board of Elections for verification.
thank you.
Any further discussion? And the last one is number 11, section 68, recall election. And city treasurer removed and board of elections is replaced.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I assume that the Board of Elections is okay with this?
It's
do
what they do anyway.
Okay. Right, okay,
Yeah, we don't have the ability to verify signatures
okay,
here at City Hall.
exactly. Yep.
Anything further with that? Our discussion on the changes. So next week, we will vote. Send this to the commissioners, correct?
Right.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I did want to go back for 1 second because it's not quite clear in my mind. 25, so there's two numbers. The top one is competitive bidding, and that number is going to be set by the city commission, but it cannot go over the amount that is approved by the state legislature, right?
Correct.
Which is 77,000.
Currently,
Okay.
77,250.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Is there any old business beyond this?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is old business or, and it's again, we're doing great time-wise, you're to be commended.
It's not me, it's,
But on the graphic that Kathy had made up, how many charter recommendations previous charter review committees have made compared to us, we look like just stellar students. We're out there. But is that really dilute the emphasis that we want to place on anything, or we're just bringing forward the process, and this is what the process gave us, and they're going to deal with it anyway and not to worry about it?
but when I saw it, it was like the other years, there were like 5 or 6, and we're like up to
True.
11.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any way we can dwindle it down, or if we are satisfied with the 11
I'll keep picking up my papers, I'm sorry.
that we have.
I mean, that was just a question. It's just, I understand how we got there. I don't disagree with any of them.
Right.
I'm not going to lie, I agree with you, David. I kind of was thinking the same sort of things, like, this is important work, and these are things that are going to be taken to the people that we put into office to then determine whether or not they want to see the voters, and we certainly want to make sure that what we're sending them is a good, valuable body of work. So I think I agree with you. I understand what you're thinking.
Madam Chair, I agree. I just think when we take it to the commissioners and then they take it to the voters, that's a lot of verbiage on a ballot. I just am concerned about that.
Well, then, let's discuss that. Is there any of them that you think we should not put before the commissioners? Or,
Well, through you, Madam Chair, I know I asked the question because of that uneasy feeling, but each and every one of these, we arrived at that same legitimate process. It gives us the distinction of making more recommendations than anybody else in recent times. And if you look at how many made the ballot of what was previously recommended, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see such a high percentage as other
No.
charter reviews. But then it's the commission who has winnowed it down to what they think the voters can bear. So I'm okay with it, but it's just that general unease that I bring up only on account of, we got the time to talk about it if we wanted to.
Madam Chair, when I was thinking about it too, I was thinking, which of these are most important for our government to run an effective city? So when I was prioritizing it in my head, that's how I came up with my list. I agree with you. It is up to them to dwindle it down, but I don't want it to be too verbose that we don't get our points across.
and is it too verbose?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
That's a lot. I don't know.
It's a lot.
So I'm not sure how we go about dwindling it down,
Well-
but maybe we should find out first if that is something that we all want to do, or,
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion, I mean, it's something to think about before the next meeting when we
Okay.
vote presumably individually on each of these charter changes. And I guess it's not in order of what changes the city of Sandusky. Nothing is more dramatic than the at-large and the ward system, which
It's important.
have not had previously. I mean, that is a major, major change. And I know from having worked in a city that had nothing but wards, in a city which had nothing but at-large, they operated very, very differently.
so just for me personally, and which did you prefer? Can I ask that?
You can ask me anything.
Okay, so I asked that.
Yeah, I preferred the at-large. The ward system in where I worked before created, I'll call them fiefdoms, where each councilman was given free rein to run their ward any way they wanted. So zoning was inconsistent citywide, because if a particular member of the council wanted something done in their ward to change voting, all the other councilmen supported that because they knew they'd get that support in return. So it became less of a citywide consideration of what's best for the city versus what's best for my ward.
Interesting.
Madam Chair.
Yes, yeah.
There's a couple, maybe three things. First of all, I think one of our members continuously reminded us that we're not the end decision. That's number one. It's going to the city commission. So let's let them do their job. We've done our job, so let's let the city commission do their job. Number two, as far as the verbiage and being too diluted, how do they send out their letter? I know you said something before about it. Is it everybody that voted in the last election when they send out the verbiage and the letter to the electors?
I'm going to defer to
Okay.
Kathy on that.
I believe it is everyone who is registered to vote. When I looked at it last time, it does become very costly because if you have 5 members in one household, every member of that household gets a letter,
Okay,
because they can't just send it to the voters of this address. Each registered voter gets a letter.
okay, and we're not,
Therefore, you're doing postage to 6 people at the
Right.
same address.
and we can't change
Yeah.
that here. So it's
Yeah.
going to happen. So my point is that everybody's going to get a chance with that letter to read the verbiage and understand it. So it's up to the voters to understand the language. That's number 2.
Yeah, just like we've done in the past.
Right.
The only other thing that would be a consideration with this many things on the ballot, the Board of Elections charges us for our share of whatever the election is. I used to be on a school board. And if you put up a special levy election in May, you paid for everything, every poll worker, every machine, it was very expensive. If you did it during a general election, like this would be done, it's much, much cheaper because the cost is spread out to all those entities, including the state, that may have something on the ballot. However, if we have 11 things on the ballot and it requires an extra page for the ballot document, then we would, I assume, be charged for that.
Right. And the third thing is that, and I respect your opinion, but a lot of the numbers that you gave us were from big cities. I mean.
Yes.
Okay. We're a community of 25,000. If you look at other communities, even smaller than ours, 8,000, 7,000, 10,000,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Big
They have
cities and
the-
rural
right.
cities are run very differently.
they have the ward and the at-large
Yeah.
system. So it's not really too fair to think or acknowledge that there's going to be some grafting by doing this 4 and 3. I mean, every community is different. I mean, you could run into that system with a at-large system, same. So I'm happy with all this language. I wish we could vote tonight to cancel our next meeting, but,
Well, we have 4 members missing, so hopefully
Yeah.
we'll have a fuller.
I mean, as far as cost too, let's remember that, there's a city commission election this year, there's a school board election. I'm being told that there's going to be something on the ballot from the health department. So it's not like we're going to be paying, we're just going to be paying. It's going to be spread out through
It
different.
should be spread out, again, unless
Extra
it's like when I was on the school board and we used to have children from other districts, especially in our vocational or special education divisions. And the cost of one extra child is almost nothing if the classroom isn't full. If the classroom's full and you have to build another classroom, hire another teacher, buy more furniture, then suddenly the cost of one extra student becomes astronomical. So it will depend on how it all shakes out.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Has the commissioners ever thought or entertained the idea of having a town hall meeting to explain some of these things? I think when the chief of police came and spoke to us and said, I need to be able to hire people this way, because I think if people know the reasons that these changes need to be made, it's a lot easier than reading the verbiage. So I don't know if they would consider doing town hall meetings. It might get the message out better.
Yeah, that would be up to the commission, although I would point out that the commission meeting where they discuss your recommendations is a public meeting. Any from the city is welcome to show up and give their opinion.
I understand, but I'm just saying, when you read the language on a ballot, it's very difficult to understand.
Right.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I would just add that we, when the recommendations come out and if it gets on the ballot, we would do informational sharing on our website and in different realms. We can't put our finger on the scale and say, we want you to vote for this because.
Oh, no.
We can only
Just to explain
answer
what's going on.
or only talk because Tim will put it on Facebook that we're being bad. So we will obviously do that. It depends on what gets on there. And, we want to educate the public so they have answers to their questions. We just can't say support this or don't support it for whatever
Right.
reason.
So maybe for our next meeting, we think about whether this, whether the 11 is overkill, I guess we should say, or if we could narrow it down to 5 or 6, or if this is indeed okay, if it's the changes we've come up with and we've gone through a process. Is this final? We can think about that for next week. Next meeting, I'm sorry, not next week, June 26th. I think that all ties in old and new business, correct? If there's any. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just,
Steve.
I'm offering a suggestion. I don't know if I agree with it or not. In thinking about this, the question we've been talking about, and preparing for the next meeting, what if we each sort of individually rank ordered what we think is most important, second most important of the 11 things? That would be a way of kind of reducing the number, as Mr. Hastings points out. The ward system is a significant change. It's the one topic people have come in to offer their opinion on, and we've heard a lot about it. Other changes, I don't want to think that gender doesn't raise to the level of importance that being able to hire cops is, or how much a restrictive bidding number handicaps our city, you know. But if we did kind of just do our personal rank order and did the statistics on it, we could reduce this list to just a thought.
If you would choose to do that, I could do it in the same method I did as far as meetings would go. I could put out a list to all of you of, the shortened list with the long list and say, please rank these in your order and return to me only. I would have everyone's copies and I could formulate, here's the top. I would give each one a number going all the way down. Here's the most important deemed by you. Here's the least important. And then maybe that would do something with your voting or not. I mean, if you would want me to do that, I could do that.
Mr. Hastings, do you see any, is there any advantage that you see to do that, or Mr. Rozak, that?
Whether you share that with others or not, I think that would be a personal advantage to people to decide what's most important to them.
Personally,
Okay, no, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think that it has to mean that we don't take all 11. But I think it is a great idea that we put them in order of most importance to least, and then, yes. John.
For the understanding of the entire board, let's take the section 5, or number 5, which is the civil service, section 27. That entire, all the way from the top to the bottom, does not appear on the ballot. It's only the changes, correct?
No, I think the whole section would be,
Okay,
like a red line version showing the change.
okay.
So Kathy, could we get you to do that? Send us
Oh,
all
I
something?
absolutely could.
Is that okay
Yeah.
with everyone?
Yeah.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, but that does take a lot of space, but I would, as you heard the chief of police testify before this body, that's perhaps his most important one, that we be given maximum flexibility under Ohio law. And if you heard Aaron Klein testify,
Bidding, yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
ability to purchase things without a 90-day delay every single time would be on his top priority list.
Right. Okay, so we have homework. Okay, to do. Our final meeting is June 26th. I called Kathy this morning and told her I was scared to be here today. Thank you guys for making it so easy for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you've got a gavel if anybody gets out of,
Yeah, and
motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
You did a great job. My opinion.